And we are live. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Three Pagans on Tap. We are on episode, hold on, I gotta check.
52.
52. 50 fucking 2 episodes. How about that?
Man, just remembering back when we used to think, oh man, this video series, we're gonna maybe keep it up for a couple of months, and that's gonna be it.
Yeah. Yeah, we really were thinking we weren't gonna make it. Like, we were surprised when we hit 25. Like,
yeah. And now we're double that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hop right in.
Yep.
What do you have for us tonight for a prayer?
Got it. Hail to the revelry and their dancing king. Hail to the Lord of jesters and the rising of the sun. You holy fools who sing the plants to waking and set the stars to shining. Welcome home with the coming of the spring. Hear the bells and let the dancing begin. Let none bar their path as they bring life anew. Hail to the holy parade of fools. Thank you, holy ones. Pack warm you and keep you. Pack warm us and keep us all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we called this our little post-Equinox party because both of us have been through different celebrations of the equinox, and we, hey, Oli. Speaking of, this is one of the people that I celebrated the equinox with.
Yeah, and also, we could both use a little blowing off of steam as we've both been fucking slammed busy. And
yeah, I had 4 overtime in the last week. I definitely need a little bit.
So, what you drinking tonight?
I'm debating between Ironfish bourbon whiskey or maple whiskey, or one of the beers that we picked up. I think I'm going to go for the Ironfish tonight.
Nice.
I don't want to drink too much because I'm probably going to have to jump out around 12:15, 12:30.
That's fair.
This is an offering before we get started.
Yeah, no, that's legit.
Hail to the holy ones who inspire. Hail to the holy ones who revel. Hail to the holy ones who help us to let go.
Indeed. Also, hey, Kat, nice to see you again. I know you had missed most of our recent broadcasts because, schedule misalignment.
Good to see you, Black. Oh, sorry, Cat Blackwell. Yes, there we go.
Also, Black Cat 88 on Discord.
Oh, okay. This is okay. Good.
Yeah.
So my name blindness isn't the problem here.
No, it's the same person.
Oh, ooh.
That's a Schramm's bottle.
No, it's not.
No?
It's a Beerenausalis, which is a German mead.
Oh, okay. Neat.
Yeah. It's called Rheinhessen. And my family lived around the Rhine area before they emigrated from Germany.
Nice.
Yeah. I may drink some of that. I might save it. I think I might save that.
Fair enough.
I think that might be an ancestor thing.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. They're getting some 4 roses too.
Fair enough. Oh. So what did you do for the equinox?
So I celebrated with Crossing Hedgerow Sanctuary and Farm. We celebrated Alban Eid. Yeah, it was a great time. I was very happy to be the caller for South and Fire, shocking everyone that I know. But it was a really good time, a really lovely ritual. Yeah. I really kind of missed the whole getting around a fire with a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice to experience that again.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I miss being able to go out there. It's a bit of a hike for me at this point. So
Oh, just a shit bit.
yeah, just it's
Hour and a half.
hour and a half on a good day with no traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not generally a thing that I can do without at least a fair bit of planning. But one of these days I'll get that down there.
Right.
Cool.
Okay.
You're just pouring everything for offerings. Jeez.
Dude, they are thirsty tonight. They want straight vodka and they want the Punchki vodka.
This is why I make my offerings before the air.
Yeah, well, I had some technical difficulties I had to address before I came on.
No, you're good. I'm just fucking with you.
But at least, ooh, here we go. So at least the weather cooperated, because that was one of the fears I had going in, was that the weather was going to be shit.
Yeah. Yep. It's Michigan around the season change. That means the weather is very unstable. Emily says Sarenth is drinking less than normal tonight, so his spirits have to make up the difference.
Motherfucker. All right, well, that lid's gone somewhere.
Take your time, no worries.
There we go. So
that's good. And Crossing Hedgerow tends to be relatively Wiccan-esque rituals. Is that right? Druidry. Okay.
Yep.
More like ADF style.
Actually, Oban.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, some of their stuff has kind of a Wiccan tinge to it, but I think that's probably because of when the founders kind of were coming up.
Yeah.
But I know that some of their deeper stuff, their not so public facing stuff, has a lot more of the same kind of flavor that you and I were looking for.
Okay.
Like, I haven't been told any mysteries, but it's just been like the vibe I get when I talk to people. They're like, yeah. So
that's neat.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that I really dig about OBOD is how public facing they are. I think honestly this is a thing that a lot of druid groups have in them, is a real emphasis on when you're facing the community, this is how ritual is conducted, this is how you do your thing. And I kind of appreciate that quite a bit, that's part of their focus.
Kat says, wish we had something like that up here. Yeah, I do too. Eventually I'll buy a house. Eventually.
I was going to say, careful, that might be you.
Yeah. It's fine. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad it went well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lately I've been working on stuff not so much the book. I actually needed to take a break.
Yeah.
Because that book was eating my brain, and it's at 95 words, 95,500. So I'm like, nice. I need to chill on that for a bit until I get some alpha readers on this thing.
When can I expect my copy?
Soon.
Okay.
Maybe even tonight. I don't know.
Okay. Just let me know.
Yeah, I will. Brain. So a lot of other writing projects have kind of stepped forward to fill the void because I can't not write. I've tried.
Mm-hmm. I know the feeling.
So I wrote a recent post called On Reasons for Gifting and Offering, which was inspired by something that Snow asked about in Discord for the Around Grandfather Fire podcast.
Yeah.
I've also been working on a couple of other posts as well. And also the other thing that's been kind of like noodling on my brain has been dedicating time to building heathen cultures. And for fun, the big thing that's come forward has been Shadowrun. As a like, oh my god, I forgot how much I really love this setting.
Yeah.
So I've been creating characters and making plot lines and all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's been my kind of post-Equinox milieu of stuff I've been doing, because like, trying to focus on the book. I was doing 500 words a night for the better part of a year, and I just need to take a break.
Yeah, no, taking a break is good. Especially if you're at 95,000 words, it's probably about time to be like, all right, we're at the wrap this shit up and get people to tell me what the fuck I need to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh. Let's see, what am I up to? I'm gonna get to the Equinox stuff in a minute because that's gonna take explanation. I am getting ready to sit for my boards. I finally submitted my application on March 31st. My boss is submitting the paperwork to AMT, American Medical Technologists, tomorrow. It'll probably take them about a week to process it, and then I should get a letter saying, "Hi, you can go sit for our very expensive test." And then I will arrange a time and drive out to Lansing and sit down and stare at a computer and sweat and click buttons for like 3 or 4 hours. And then I'll hopefully know whether or not, then I'll know whether or not I passed at the end. And hopefully I'll pass and not have to fucking worry about this shit again. And good news, I won't once I pass, I won't have to do this again, because I had thought that I only qualified for the 2-year certification, but I qualify for the 4-year certification based on work experience. So I won't have to retest in a couple of years. I'm just set, which is very, very nice, both for me and for my place of work, because that puts me in a better position for a bunch of technical accreditation stuff, like being able to do training and all kinds of stuff. Not that I'm ready to do training, like I need at least a couple more years under my belt for that, but that's not the point. It's much better for everybody. Also, I'll get a pay raise, a pretty hefty pay raise, like $4 an hour, which is a pretty significant amount of money. See, the class is going well. That's been really fun and interesting. I don't know if we've talked about that on the show. The mother tree.
We haven't, and I'm not sure that we can.
Yeah, no, like certainly not details, but yeah. Regardless, that's been going well.
Good.
Sorry, my brain is. I did just get home from work like a half hour.
I was gonna say, like, ADHD plus post work come down. We did warn people when this episode started. We were both coming down off of some pretty hefty work.
Yeah.
Schedules.
Yeah. Pack stuff has been going off like an avalanche, like it always fucking does.
It's a puppy pile.
More or less. There's at least 2 people getting ready to initiate. One this month, one soon. I don't think we have a date nailed down for that yet, but one's at the end of this month, the other one's soon. That's been fun. And getting them ready has been interesting, because it's always learning on the part of the people who are already initiated, because it's different every time. And then also learning on the part of the initiate, and also their whatever they are bringing forward, which is unique every time. So it's always interesting, a lot of learning going on. I'm getting to it. Kat says revelry, and I'm getting to that. That's the next thing. So brief bit of history. At the autumnal equinox, I did an initiation ritual under Freyr, entering a priesthood relationship with him. This involved a lot of work with him as king under the mound, because in my mythic cycle with him at the autumnal equinox, he goes down under the mound and becomes king under the mound until longest night, when he begins the journey back up to the world of the living. And I was told really explicitly throughout that I would not get a bunch of the information until the vernal equinox, until the spring equinox, when like that cycle kind of finished, and Freyr returned to the land of the living. Which, so 7 days prior to the equinox, I started doing the prep work, which about tracks with the autumnal. I did about 7 days of work afterwards. And then the day of, had a small ritual with me and my partner here at my house. And I had known that a lot of this was coming because I could hear the bells for weeks. But once the prep work started 7 days before, it really became apparent that this was a thing. A big part of this priesthood work for me is working with a group of spirits that are Freyr's retinue, who at this time of the year are known as the Revelry. It's not a one-to-one, but I've compared them to the Bacchae, who are Dionysus attendants and retinue. I'm actually having Sarenth write both a blog post and a prayer on this topic this month. So I am interested to hear if you've got any thoughts on the matter yet. If
not as of yet, because yeah. I wrote the outlines for the posts and put all the relevant tags together, but I have not actually sat down to write this thing, because the night that I got the assignment, I was like running 6 ways to Sunday at work.
Oh yeah, no, naturally. I just thought I'd point it out. The themes at this time of year are very interesting. It's also really interesting because I had no fucking idea this was coming, right? It's one of those things that happen sometimes with spirit work. Like, sometimes you know it's coming and it all makes sense. In this, I had no fucking idea. Like, I wrote some of the myths. Like, I knew that there was a group of spirits with him, because part of the mythic cycle is him bringing souls from under the mound back up to the world of the living to reincarnate. It's part of a reincarnation cycle. But I didn't know that there was this dedicated retinue. And I certainly did not know about all of the themes. And I certainly did not know the name. And that's been very interesting. I'm not going to go into all the details because some of it's personal and some of it's probably mystery based, but that's fine. A lot of the themes are like, there is a lot of celebratory themes, right? Revelry, dancing, partying, the clanging of the bells, etc. For myself, for basically the entire week, I was getting just literal dancing bear imagery with like the vest and the hat and the whole bit. It was that hilarious.
That's
it was
fucking
exactly
amazing.
No, it was fabulous. And I think actually a lot of the themes are very masquerade in the like it is less about who you are under the mask and more about what role you're currently playing in the
What are you
revel.
presenting? Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like different people could be wearing this mask and you would still serve the exact same function.
Got you.
You might play it slightly differently and to better or worse and etc., much like actors on a stage.
Right.
But it's very much along the lines of different people can play the part and have over time. And Dancing Bear is, I think, actually one of those like capital D, capital B, Dancing Bear. It's a title, it's a role.
Kind of like a Boucleon or an Arc-Boucleon would have.
Yeah. Like there's more than one role, and I think there's more than one Dancing Bear, but at least for a while, I'm one of them, which is interesting. As Ket says, it was fantastic, lots of jubilation. It really was. It was did the welcoming home ritual, and then it was just fucking party time. My house was just jam packed with spirits. It was felt like walking through a crowd without it being unpleasant because that's normally a nightmare for me, but this was actually fun.
I got you.
And there's a lot of that. I kind of already covered it, but there's a lot of that masquerade theme. A lot of
oh yeah.
There is a sense of losing yourself into the crowd, of losing yourself into the current, where you're still you, but that matters a lot less than the fact that you are part of the revelry.
So just to really kind of head this question off at the pass, this is not disassociation.
No. You maintain, or at least I should say, done correctly, you maintain sense of self and sense of identity. You're not dissociating. You're aware of yourself and your body. But
so this is not merging with a spirit. This is more like identifying with a role.
That and also I'm a really hard animist, so I'm not going to say that there's not a spirit of the revelry, but it feels less like merging with a spirit and more like becoming part of a current.
Sure. That makes sense. I grok that. That's kind of how I understand the flow of Earther, the vehicle of space-time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Earther feels like a distinct entity.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, yeah.
Sorry, Earther the goddess, if we could put dash marks in between that. I know you got that.
I got that, yes, but no, it's probably important to say that. It's kind of like the in Cometicism, Mayat, the cosmological concept, or Mayat, the goddess.
Right.
Are they the same? Depends.
Yes. And?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been... And the revelry is both... They're serving both cosmological functions and functions for Freyr specifically, because they are his retinue, they are his attendants, they are attending to him. They are also... part of the role is shepherding these souls up from the mound into the world of the living, delivering them where they need to go.
Like a reverse psychopop. I love it.
It really is. And also, the souls that are being shepherded are part of the revelry for the time that they are in the current. But also, like I mentioned in the prayer, there's a lot of functions of the singing and the dancing and the bells waking the world back up.
I wish to retract my statement. It is not the reverse of a psychopomp. It is a psychopomp. It's just that the actions that we associate with psychopomps is usually going down.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to comment on that, but yeah. No,
it's cool. Because it's Psyche and Pompous, which is...
It's literally Soul Parade. Yeah, it's literally... Yeah. Yeah, there's... there's a lot of jubilation, but there's also a lot of work. And I'm also not going to sit here and pretend like the journey up from the underworld is not a hazardous and arduous one, as much as there is singing and dancing. Sometimes that was, why are we singing and dancing? Because
keep shit away.
Yep. One, to keep shit away. Two, because that's how we are keeping our spirits up to make it through this shit, because it is rough out here.
Secret tunnel.
Yeah. Man, yeah. No, that pretty. It was all a very good time, and it's one of those things. I keep running into shit where it's like, wow, I could build an entire practice and have that be my entire practice around this thing and do nothing else for the rest of my life. I'm not going to, but I could.
I get it. I think that's one of the things that really strikes me about polytheism is that you take any direction, literally any direction, and you could devote yourself as a form of service, devotion, or exploration of various gods, ancestors, and Vaethir, Ginregen, for the remainder of your life from that point on. You damn near any direction. You could take microbiology as an expression of devotion to the gods, and the work that you do with microbio every day is devotion and mystery and so on and so forth. There's just this is why I tell people, do not get like suckered into there's only one way to do this, because it's polytheism, not monotheism.
Right. Even the monotheists have a million ways to do it. It's fine.
They do. And like so many of them are on the cusp if they would just like take the blinders off for a hot second.
Right. Yeah. It's been really fun though, and there's a lot to this. I mentioned in a group chat or a server a while back that every time I start to like get the self-doubt and stuff of like, am I really doing this? And then I look and I'm like, oh, I've got like 8 holidays, a whole group of spirits, cosmology, myth cycles, what the fuck that means in the cosmology. Like, there's a lot to this already, and it's been less than a year.
I think this is a really important part of where the metal of polytheist religion meets the meat of polytheist religion. And I mean that in the sense of the bones that we're working off of are somewhat old and outdated, heavily Christianized, and fragmented.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, we're going to have to rebuild some of that structure. The metal, where the metal meets the meat of practice, to a certain degree, is our own fabrication with the gods, ancestors, and the Vaethir, because it's necessary.
Yeah. And I also, like, it bears mentioning, as just a point of emphasis, that, like, I've had outside divination done for basically every part of this. Like, is that always necessary? No,
but
I like to. It makes me feel better. And so, I confirm. Hey, am I full of shit? No, hard no. You are on the right track. Okay. Or, hey, am I full of shit? No, you're on it, but like you're missing some things is generally how that goes. Which it's always fun when you get you're missing some shit from people who don't know what you're talking about yet, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
I gotta go figure this shit out. Okay, give me like 30 minutes.
You and I've had times like that with pack spirits.
Oh yeah, like, hey, Sarenth, give me some information. What? I'm not allowed to. Just hit trance. You'll be fine. You won't remember a damn thing. Don't worry about it.
This is why having multiple people in and outside of your tradition to divine for you is so fucking important, because when you've got these questions, you can actually go, hey, this doesn't make any sense to me. What in the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really nice.
It's also really important to note we're not the only ones doing this. This is also a thing in ancient cultures that have made it to the modern day. Whether or not that's fully intact or not is beside the point. This is still a thing in diasporic religions, in living indigenous traditions. They are like, these aren't people that stop talking with their spirits one day and so there's nothing to be revealed anymore.
Right.
Like, they're
Yeah.
in living concert with their gods, ancestors, and Vatir as much as we are. In some cases, arguably with, I mean, not even arguably, longer lineages on most of these.
And those things change over time. That's how it works.
Right.
Right? Relationships develop and change over time. That's the point.
Tradition is the worship of the flame, not the ashes.
Yeah. Right. No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been really good. And there's a lot of stuff about it that I'm not going to talk about on air because it's just nobody's business but mine, and that's how it
I'm
goes.
intensely interested because of my connection with Dionysus, as well as the possible connections with him and the Vanir. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I'm feeling connections to this through those connections, just as a heads up. Like, just from the revelry, I'm pretty sure I've run into these folks already.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No.
I've had another off of a very brief interaction. I've had another Dionysus devotee compared the revelry to the satyrs, specifically the satyr portion of the Bacchae, which
That makes sense.
That line is not is extremely fuzzy and mostly non-issue. But for clarification's sake, he was like, "This feels more like that than the Bacchae specifically," and I was like, "No, that tracks. That's not all of it. I think that's mostly the portion that he was getting, but like." That's also because that was kind of the portion that I was vibing with at that moment. It's a whole fucking thing. Right? When it's a huge group of spirits, not all of them are the same.
Right. And that's something I think to keep in mind too. Because the portion that I was running into, that I was connecting with, were the Alpha, excuse me.
Yeah.
That I can already feel are part of the retinue.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, they're there too. It's really interesting because it's such a diverse group of spirits. There are spirits that I would straight up say, are these satyrs? Maybe not in the Greek sense, but they're probably kissing cousins. Are these things that Greeks would recognize as nymphs? Yeah, probably, because they're nature spirits. Are there ancestors here? Absolutely. Are there animal spirits here? Yes.
And this right here is why Lakuto is such a great resource.
Yeah. Are there Alfar in here? Absolutely. Are some of those Alfar former dead humans? Yes. It's a lot of yes and.
Right. Well, I mean, you're also in the beginning stages of this. You've had a couple of contacts with them. Even when I was doing heavy work with the toys of Dionysus, there were things that I was touching on that other people wouldn't get. Not because they weren't worthy of it, but because it touches different things in you, and you touch different things back.
Yep. It's relationship. Yeah, it's been really interesting. And I also want to be, there is also this sense of how to say, as much as the revelry is very fun and very compassionate and very well intentioned, there is a very real sense of danger there, a real sense of make sure you know where you are standing, because if you're standing in the wrong place, bad things could happen to you, up to and including you could become the entertainment.
So the standard precautions with Fey adjacent, Alpha adjacent creatures still applies.
Very much yes, and also think Maenads.
So different in terms of the wild hunt getting swept up and carried off, but echoes of both this and the Maenad.
Yes. And also in this mythic cycle, at some point in the year, and I'm pretty sure it's at the autumnal equinox, the revelry becomes the Furious Army, who in some versions of the mythology, the Furious Army is the ones who do the Wild Hunt. Because in some versions of the mythology, the Wild Hunt is the noun, and in some versions of the mythology, the Wild Hunt is the verb.
See also Lakuto for an excellent breakdown of these themes.
Yes, Lakuto, Northern European, Western European Reconstructionist best friend. Also dense. Be ready for. He writes for himself and no one else, as a good friend of mine put it.
Yep. Especially his, from what I understand, his later editions are much more about, oh, I found more information. I wanted to stick this in here, and it just goes wherever I put it.
Yep. Yeah. No, and like if you look at like his list of books, which is extensive.
Yeah, this guy had nothing but fucking time to research this shit.
And he's still alive, I'm pretty sure.
I know! I keep saying Lakuto's dead, but he's not.
Right? But like he's written like what are clearly updated versions of older books. Like his recent werewolf book that I have but haven't read through yet is very clearly an updated version of a previous book. Like
it's good. It's actually good.
Yeah. No, I've read a lot of it and I'm like, oh, so much of what I know about werewolves is just modern American bullshit, which is fine. That doesn't make it useless. It's just like, oh, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole Full Moon Association, Hollywood.
Yep, it's Hollywood.
That's it. That's fine.
Yeah, when you dig into the actual folklore of werewolves, it's much more interesting and points to animism, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, it's very clearly that. Like, what did this come
out of? Like Lakuto blatantly straight up says, like this points to their animist past, and this is why the church had such a problem with it.
Yeah. Before I forget, the thing I am drinking tonight is another Spirits with Spirits cocktail.
Ooh,
this one is called the Reveler's Delight. It is delightful. 1.5 ounces of dark rum, 1.5 ounces of whiskey. I used Pusser's rum, which is delightful, but I think actually a funky Jamaican rum would be even better here. But do what you want. It's about what you want anyway. I used a very, very oaky scotch for the 1.5 ounces of whiskey. Do what you want. I would say kind of the harsher the whiskey, like the more strongly and forward flavored the whiskey, the better here, because there's a lot going on. So you kind of want it to stand up. 1 ounce of Grand Marnier. Any orange liqueur will do. Sweeter is better. That's why I went with Grand Marnier. Also, it's my favorite. 1 ounce of either cherry liqueur or amaretto. Amaretto is going to lend itself to a more subtle almond flavor and a bit more sweetness. Cherry liqueurs, if you get a good one, are going to be more tart. I went with the cherry liqueur because thank you, Indy, for turning me on to Long Roads Distilling, which is a local to Michigan distillery. Their cherry liqueur is fabulous. It's made with Michigan cherries. It tastes like eating fresh cherries. It's amazing. Just a shout out. Anyway, 2 ounces of cream of coconut, 2 ounces of orange juice, 3 ounces of pineapple juice. Shake, serve up. You could serve this over one big rock, but I like most of my drinks up, which is with no ice. Garnish with grated fresh nutmeg and bitters to taste. I'm always really heavy on my bitters. I use Angostura aromatic bitters in this. I did about 20 dashes. My dasher does a very small dash, so that's not as much as it sounds, but it's still a hefty amount. It is delightful. This is basically a twist on a painkiller, which is a pretty classic rum tiki drink. I'm rambling a lot, but that's fine. It's very different from a painkiller. Like you can tell that it's, oh, this is a twist on a painkiller, but it is significantly different. It is somehow both brighter and darker than a painkiller, because a painkiller is a bit more fresh fruit heavy, and this is much more spirit forward, but also brighter because a lot of those liqueurs are, cherry and orange, and then also the whiskey adds this interesting twist to it that's with that dark, like charred oak flavor. It's really good. It's really fucking good. Anyway, how's your whiskey, Sarenth?
Good. Ever since I picked up that little trick of putting a little teeny bit of water in, my appreciation of what might otherwise be really, I guess, forward harsh whiskeys is greatly improved. It milds out the bite.
Yeah.
And I can taste more of it.
Yeah. Well, and in the last after party, I finally managed to get some drinking techniques into your head.
Mm-hmm. He can be taught.
Yeah. Slowly but surely, it's fine.
Slowly maybe, but don't call me Shirley. Dead joke.
You're good. Oh, that's funny. What was I going to say?
No.
That conversation inspired 2 blog posts out of me. I haven't finished the second one yet. I haven't even started the second one yet. I've got the title. I know what it's about. I haven't written it yet. So the first one was the one that I published recently about the role of initiator, which was interesting. And also, I really genuinely thought that your overview of spiritual specialists included initiator as a role.
I thought it did too. Weird.
I for years have thought that that was a role that was in that post. It's not. Oh well. So
it's still really good. I'm really proud of that one.
It is. No, it's a very good post, and I'm very glad that I asked you to write it because it's exceedingly useful. Between that post and Cabra's talk about the right between taboo breaking versus taboo keeping and rich versus poor for practitioners, and then between that and then your post, like that's frankly 2 very good ways to think about, and ways to think about classifying practitioners, and classifying yourself as a practitioner. I think it's very useful. Like they're not hard and fast rules, but they're useful guideposts to kind of get you thinking about how things can function. And so anyway, Sarenth has this post, and I'd thought for basically since I read it that there was a role in Sarenth's post that was initiator. There's not. I read it twice just to double check as I was writing this post about my experiences as an initiator, and oh well. So I wrote that recently, and then I've got another post coming out at some point when I get around to it about
that motherfucker is 3 years old now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's for years. I'm not kidding. For years, I've thought that role was in there. It's not. It's fine. Anyway, I've got another post about what it's like having the relationship that I do with the alcohol spirits, being the child of a long line of alcoholics, because my grandparents on both sides were raging alcoholics, all 4 of them. Both of my parents are alcoholics. That's a big reason why I don't speak to them. And I imagine it goes back further than that. I can't say for sure because, family lines are complicated and I don't talk to my family, so I don't know. And they wouldn't tell me even if I did, because
that's okay. This is what ancestor work is for.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, like, in no small part, my relationship with alcohol is healing that for my family, because my parents are alcoholics. My grandparents were alcoholics. That was a broken and damaged relationship with this very wonderful group of spirits. And I'm doing my part. And it's interesting, both from like a personal point of view and from a kind of more third party point of view. It's like, oh, that's, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Both powerful, painful, but interesting. Anyway, I've been rambling a lot. What are you thinking?
Well, let's see. I I don't know. Just so much of your journey with the revelry is where I see myself having taken steps with the toys of Dionysus and with Dionysian worship so much that I don't want to comment too much on it. Not because it wouldn't be useful, but because this is your mystery, and I'm being more or less told to just cool it till you come to me.
I have a question for you then. And
Okay.
if you can't answer me, that's perfectly fine. And check first.
Hit me.
In your Dionysian work with the toys, did you, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Did you end up building a, for lack of a better word, toolkit of physical, I'm specifically not looking at the screen so I don't see your face, because you cannot play poker. Did you end up building a physical toolkit of spirit objects associated with the work that had distinct ritual roles?
Not as such.
Okay.
So I have built physical vessels for the toys, including a leather bowl for Sphera. I have two different noisemakers, for lack of a better term. One's for Quatala, which is the rattle, and the other one is for God. Of course, I'm trying to think of the damn name, and it's escaping me. The Thunderer. Yeah, the Bull Roarer.
There you go.
So I've got two Bull Roarers, one of which I handmade, the other one which I bought from somebody. So I have physical objects that are vessels for the toys, a Strugaloy as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not dedicated ritual objects to a ritual purpose.
Okay.
Like, for instance, I do not have a God damn it, I know the word for this. It's a staff dedicated to Dionysus, usually with a phallus or a pine cone on the top of it.
Yeah. Damn it, Jason has one.
Yeah, I've made one. I don't know what the fuck they're called because my brain just went, you don't need that information right now.
Yeah, it's gone from my brain too. I'm like, Thyrsus. There we go.
Thank you, Thyrsus, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you, Emily.
Yep. There we go. Thyrsus. There we go. It's interesting. I'm not going to talk about it in any specifics. There is a similar, but not the same object in, I shouldn't say object, tool in the revelry.
Mm-hmm.
It is, so one of the stories about the Thyrsus is that at a certain point in one of the myths, I believe it's the Maenads, one group of, I believe, female followers of Dionysus have Thyrsuses Thursai. Anyway, and they at some point during the myth become actual spears, and they use them to kill a lion.
Yeah.
There is a very similar tool that is both kind of celebratory parade leading baton and also
Rhombos, thank you.
Yep, there we go. Yep. I always get rhombus. I always think rhombus is the wheel, and it's not.
No, that's Trocos.
Yep, because rhombus means circle thing, basically.
Something that I'm pinging on really hard that you are going to want to pay attention to is Pagnia Campasegua is popping up really hard for me right this minute.
No fucking idea what that is.
She is a doll.
God damn it. Yeah.
And she has hanging associations because of the myth that's associated with her.
You're the second person to mention dolls to me in this context.
Neat.
So corn dollies are corn here being
wheat and barley and
corn
rye.
Here being grains. Like the English maybe still do, but certainly used to refer to all grains as corn.
So the other thing that I was supposed to say to you, yes, thank you for the reminder, Emily. Pagnia Campasegua is also the mask. So, yeah, that's the other part I was supposed to tell you.
Okay. God. Yeah.
The mask is usually a depiction of Dionysus in his ivy form.
Uh-huh.
So I am feeling that ping very hard.
Uh-huh. Thanks, fucker.
You're welcome. Hey, you asked me. I didn't say shit. I was going to be my little jokey, smiley poker face.
Poker face.
This is why I don't play poker, folks.
Yeah, no. You're the second person to mention dolls to me in this context. Someone else asked me if it would be offensive to get me or make me corn dollies, and I was like, no, it wouldn't. That would actually be fairly appropriate. Okay.
I wonder if your corn dolly thingy is going to follow a similar cycle to like the Bourgeman from the Erglava, where they go through a cycle of construction and then burning.
Quite possibly. It'll probably be drowning, not burning, which is a bit more Anglo-Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't rule out burning either. And I say drowning because river spirits play a pretty heavy role in the mythology.
There's the shades of Dionysus for this too, with the river spirits playing a bigger role than others.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not actually that familiar with Dionysus mythos.
I should throw you some books.
Hold off until I've at least got the book. Not because I don't want to read them, but because I want to make sure I'm getting this kind of untainted, quote unquote.
No, I get you. Sorry, I am making so many associations as you're going through, going, yep, that tracks too.
Yeah, no, and specifically, the river spirits are. So at the autumnal equinox, for those who are not aware, for me in my mythic cycle for Freyr, he is sacrificed. His throat is cut, and he is laid in the ground. It's a whole thing, and the river spirits carry his lifeblood through the lands in order to restore fertility. And that's a really major point: is that river spirits, water spirits, are the ones who do this, and that is a very significant thing. I believe the line is, and the rivers carried
5 seconds.
Yep. And the rivers carried his blood carried his blood throughout the lands as only water spirits can do. I got the goosebumps, so I'm pretty sure that's, if not exactly right, is close enough to hit the mark. But yeah, so river spirits, water spirits in general being a thing, so corn dolly will likely get drowned. Probably have a new one every year. I'm just kind of talking out loud to the camera at this point. It's fine. Also the mask thing. between both the revelry and the mask and masquerade roles, and also the mask often being Dionysus himself, being Freyr himself. It's fine. It's fine. Lots of shots. It's worth noting, if you're going to make the Revelry's Delight, Grand Marnier is not, it might be a liqueur by definition, but it is a 40% ABV liqueur. So it is full strength. Long Road Distilling's cherry liqueur is like 35% or 40%. So it is also very strong. So this is a rather strong drink. Oh, that was another thing I forgot to mention about this drink. The base recipe is intended to be a double. Like, it is built, the base recipe, which is what I read out, is a double because the point is to be kind of indulgent, right? The point is that you are going a little ham with it. You can make a single out of it, just cut everything I said in half, and it will be a delightful drink. The point of the base recipe being intentionally a double is because you're supposed to be having fun with it. You're supposed to be cutting loose. Also, yes, that was a whole ass bottle's worth of It's Fine. I'm really glad you can hear me because you can just take your ears with you the whole time. Because as I was just rambling at the camera, Sarenth, you're good.
You cut out about halfway through. Like, I caught like the tail end of your conversation.
Okay. I was just saying, river spirits play a big part in the mythic cycle.
Heard that.
Corn Dolly will likely be drowned.
Yep.
Corn Dollies is a thing, and then also the mask, because the masquerade thing, and the masks often being Dionysus, usually being Dionysus. And the Freyr context there is very interesting. Another thing that's actually probably worth pointing out that I don't think we've said out loud during this is we know that Freyr had processionals.
Yep.
Right?
He had wagon train processionals, and he had on foot, from what we can gather.
Yeah. And this is in the same theme, right? Of these like processionals, parades type deals of singing and dancing and priests attending to him, either in physical or in spirit form, blah, blah, blah. And like,
it's also worth pointing out that the reason the revelry doesn't contain as many monstrous associations with it is likely because of Freyr bringing peace, whereas Odin brings death.
Yeah. And there are, like, there is this kind of dangerous undertone, but it is definitely an undertone, not an overtone.
Right. It's not like the revelry is going to come and rip you to shreds so much as you might dance yourself to death.
Yeah. And like, there are portions of the revelry that might rip you to shreds, but you'd have to be pretty dumb to not notice that. Right? Like, you're not going to just run across it unless you did something really stupid.
Right. And I'm assuming it's probably for breaches of peace more so than just for shits and grins. But that's my assumption. Keep in mind.
Some of both.
Okay.
It's more of a if you breaches of peace, absolutely, right? Breaches of hospitality are a huge no-no, right? But also, if you make yourself into prey in front of a bunch of predators, ecstatic hunters,
num num,
you might just get bit. That might just be what happens. Not always, but it might be.
Whoa!
You all right?
Whoa, that one kicked. Damn. Oh. Note to self: do not leave the water in there long. This is the first time I did this. I did not leave the water in there very long, and I drank it right after. This one, I left the water sit.
That shouldn't make a difference. It was probably because you shot it so hard.
That's fair. I am still learning.
Yeah, no, you're good. Look, we all are, and even those of us who have quite a number of years of experience and not all that good, still do dumbass things. So
I want to just really appreciate like the depth that you're willing to go on these things. I know this is still something that you're unveiling for yourself, let alone other people. But I know that it's a really hot button issue in a lot of polytheist and pagan circles. Like, how do we share our gnosis? How do we share our experiences? How do we share our mysteries? And I appreciate that for your part, it has been a cautious sharing of this is the process, and then here are some of the results.
yeah,
Find out for yourself.
and that's a lot of it too. Is like I know a couple of other people who are doing work with Freyr, yourself among them, uh, and the work is always different, right? Everyone's
Right.
relationship is different, and what works for me and what is true for me is not necessarily true for you.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm having you write this prayer for the revelry, but if that's the only contact you ever have with them, cool, okay.
I think I've already interacted with the revelry on several occasions. Just from everything you've talked about and everything that you have described, I think I've already had quite a number of interactions.
Interesting.
Uh, so yeah, and if not the revelry as a core group, then enough portions of it that I've got enough of a bead on how it goes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised that that's kind of the thing, right? Is like people come in and out,
Right.
It's also really interesting. One of the earliest episodes of AGF, when it was just you and Jim, you were interviewing, and I forget their name, one of the members of the Starry Bull. This was before you had Sanyan on.
Oh yeah, this was
Um,
okay. Yep.
and he talked about how, yeah, Dionysus is the party god, and there's all of that, but there's also there's this stillness, there's this quiet. Um, I believe he used panther metaphors, which is very appropriate for Dionysus. Um, and there are pieces of the revelry that are like that too, right? There are pieces of Freyr that are like that.
Richard Norris.
Yeah. Where yes, the revelry is singing and dancing and ecstatic fun and the drums beating and the bells ringing and blah blah blah, blah and all of that. And you can't hear yourself for the stamp of the feet, and that's a thing. But so is also sitting quietly in a room smoking a pipe, and it's so quiet you might as well be by yourself even though there is a room full of people. um and so is the quiet that is just an empty field with no living humans in it and just a creek and plants growing.
Right.
Right, these are just as much of this experience as is the stamping of feet. um
So I'm going to connect this to anime for a bit. Come with me on this journey. So this is a feature in a lot of Hayao Miyazaki's work, and I can't remember the Japanese term for it, but it is intentionally having moments where the characters have downtime and are just existing. And how they are just existing says something about their nature.
I That is interesting. I'm not familiar with the term. uh that concept is fascinating. And
It's a really interesting thing that Miyazaki puts at least something of this into most, if not all, of his movies. You can really see it in Mononoke, in Princess
yeah,
Mononoke. You can really see it in Spirited Away,
yes, yeah,
where Chihiro has her breakdowns, or she has her moments of collecting herself while she's out in nature, or in Princess Mononoke, where the main characters are kind of collecting themselves. Either they're in the forest, or they're or damn, I can't remember the main character's name offhand right now. Anyway, the guy is relaxing in the village. Like, what do these guys do with their downtime speaks to what they do, what
yeah,
their core principles are.
yeah. No, quite a lot. And you see this actually.
Yes, thank you, Black Cat. That's it.
Ichi Ho Ichi E. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
It might be
probably
A.
not.
Ichi-A, maybe?
Ichi A,
I don't know.
probably. Ichi.
Oh, Ichigo.
Ichigo Ichi A is probably correct.
Yes. That is yes. I've only heard it spoken. I haven't seen it written.
Yeah.
Because I was watching a documentary on how Miyazaki-sama makes his movies.
And you see this in Princess Mononoke with all of the characters of note. Really, you see it with the protagonist, but you also see it with Princess Mononoke herself,
as well as Lady Shiboshi.
Lady Shiboshi. You see this with the Great Forest Spirit. You see this with the wolf spirits.
Yes. Even the boar spirits and the monkey spirits.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that might be a bit of an edge case, but yeah, no, I would tend to agree. Yeah. There's a lot to that of seeing how these characters exist when they're not forwarding the plot.
Oh, that's a really good point. That is something you see in Ponyo. It's also something you see a lot in My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah. Kat says it's great in Ponyo too. You see it in the kids a lot.
Yes.
I have not seen Ponyo. I have not seen enough Miyazaki.
It's so good.
Don't worry, Kat is bringing me through a lot of all of it. And Studio Ghibli is absolutely worth it, and I'm very glad that I'm getting dragged through a lot of this. I didn't see Howl's Moving Castle or the one about the ocean and the fish until like last year. Like 2023 is the first time I saw those movies.
Oh, Howl's Moving Castle is so good.
It is. Mononoke is still my favorite, unsurprisingly.
Shocked.
Yeah, right. Who knew the movie that centers heavily on wolf spirits is my favorite. Who knew? But honestly, no. Even that aside, that speaks more to me than Howl's Moving Castle does. I appreciate Howl's Moving Castle for what it is. It's absolutely. Ponyo is the one with the fish. Okay. I have seen Ponyo. Then I have not seen Kiki or a bunch.
Honestly, one that you really should seek out because of your connection with nature spirits is Pomporoko.
Okay.
It stars Tanuki.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
Tanuki are Japanese spirits. They're called raccoon dogs sometimes.
Okay.
And they are incredibly funny, incredibly cute, and the story is very environmentalist. You'll enjoy it, I think.
Good. Kat, I am trusting you to remember that one.
Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Good shit.
Yeah.
Earthsea is good if you haven't read the books.
I have not read the books, so
and you should like it.
I've heard that the books should go on my list because
Yes.
Oh, Parade of Demons.
Yeah.
I should just watch more Miyazaki films here soon.
That's in Pomporoko. Speaking of which.
Okay.
Earthsea was Willem Dafoe. Yeah. It's worth showing up just for Willem Dafoe.
Earthsea is Willem Dafoe. And Kat and I have been talking a lot about Willem Dafoe films because apparently Boondock Saints is getting a 3.
What?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe and I forget who else have been really hardcore pushing for it, so it's getting
no shit. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, Boondock Saints is getting 3. So that's fun.
As much as I'm enjoying this, I do need to wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to go. I will jump into the after party. Will I see you there or no?
Probably not at this juncture.
Okay, no worries. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Sorry to keep you late, Sarenth. And I will see anyone who is there at the after party. And y'all have a wonderful night.
See you in the next one.
Bye.